Hello and welcome to Space Doc Jury, another Minisode.
Here comes another one.
Here comes another one. Yes, it's another Minisode instead of a full episode, purely because we had all sorts of transporter accidents, and unfortunately, Andy is now just a pile of steaming ash. And
He exploded.
He exploded. He turned inside out and then he exploded. So we're left with a situation where we had to give you guys an episode, obviously. So Minisode it is. Here we are. And I'm Pete, you're back.
I'm back.
You're back.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So we were racking our brains trying to think of a subject to talk about. And given that we had last week with, not last week, the week before with Dave and Elton, and Dave brought the Peacekeepers from Farscape.
Ah, yes.
And so that segues nicely into the subject that we came up with, which is...
Nina.
is Space Police.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. So science fiction police, and we're not just talking about just space-bound police, we're talking about all science fiction police. Whether or not they're good, they're bad, what is it that they do? You know, because I was doing some research and I sort of found that there was two very distinct types of space police, and yeah,
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it tends to be either the protagonists that we're following,
yeah,
and we're not really ever sort of meant to judge them as wrong, except in one case, which I'm sure will come up. And then everyone else it just seems like every other police force is a secret police force or a paid for police force.
Yeah,
there doesn't seem to ever be just sort of like if the police aren't your front and center characters, then they always seem to be secretive.
well, let's face it, sci-fi writers tend to have a sort of healthy distrust of authority, so therefore the police don't generally do very well in sci-fi, do they?
No, not at all. I mean, like I say, unless something like, well, let's start with a good one like RoboCop. You know,
All right.
let's start with him. How's that sound for you?
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Yes, come quietly, or there'll be trouble. And even and he kind of straddles the line between the two because he
until recently the best Judge Dredd film there was.
Well, absolutely, yeah. But I was going to say he's one that kind of straddles the line because it starts off that he's a proper cop that we root for, and then he becomes RoboCop, who we root for
because he's cool,
because
he has a gun in his leg.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, stay out of trouble. And but then he becomes a corporate stooge, and it's like, so actually he's a bad guy. So then
best Verhoeven film ever.
Ooh, well, yeah. Do you know what
I would argue?
I think that was I think that's fair to say because the other one. Well, I say we say this, but we haven't seen. I'm taking it we haven't seen any of his non-sci-fi works that have been since.
Well, I've not seen it, so I've seen Basic Instinct.
Yes, we know about that, but let's leave.
And I've got the box of tissues for it.
yeah. And that VHS tape was just worn through, really, in just a very specific place.
That film had such a reputation when we were at school. You've got to see this film. So, right, okay.
She stabs him in the eye with an ice pick.
Ice pick, yeah, that's it. You get to see her anyway.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So I was.
The irony was, I eventually got to see it on a Greek holiday thingy. I went with a bunch of lads.
Euphemism.
And it was it was showing in all the bars. There was that and Alien 3.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a choice.
Yeah, I would argue that what's his name? Michael Douglas's selection of jumpers is probably infinitely more scary than the alien in Alien 3.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah,
he's
and arguably he's lamer as well.
Exactly, he's knitwear, deadly knitwear. So yeah, I mean, so going back to RoboCop, he kind of becomes the corporate stooge. So he becomes the bad guy for a while until he becomes the good guy again. So we're going to go through a few sort of sci-fi cops and all this kind of thing, but I'm wondering whether or not we're gonna end up just like with just a bunch of bad guys and then and then main protagonists. But it'll just be interesting to see if we can come up with any that are sort of in the background who are actually good guys.
Or indeed, I've got at least one. But there are two, in fact, that are in the foreground as good guys. So,
okay then. Well, go on then. Go for it. You go for it, sir.
Well, we've got old and warm up your impression now. We got good old Sean Connery in Outland, of course.
Ah, my men are shit.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, he doesn't know his ass from his elbow. Right? Yeah, it's nice.
Am I in space?
Mm. Yeah, she's gone back to Earth. She's gone back to Earth. I've just got to stay here with this gun. Yeah, his men will come and I'll fight them.
Last time I saw that was when you covered it for the Black Dog. And I realised it. I thought, you know what I really fancy watching? Outland. So I've ordered a copy on DVD now, and it's all your fault.
Yeah, well, in fairness, we did cover that on the Black Dog about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's taken.
So it could be really shit. I don't remember now, but anyway, I'm going to give it another go.
It is really interesting, Outland, actually, because it's essentially a remake of High Noon. And they used a lot of props and sort of decommissioned sets from Alien, and so it's really quite an interesting film in terms of you could almost.
All I remember is him walking along gantries.
Yeah,
dodging bullets.
Yeah, there's a fight on the outside of a glass window, and then blowing it.
He looks like he's standing on one of those old gasworks you used to see around the place.
That's right. Yeah,
the ones I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, but things like the you'll notice it when you first see it because the whole point of Outland is that this mining corporation is giving their employees drugs to make them work harder. And so then Sean uncovers this and tries to stop it because that's what he does, and he's rocking the boat, which is the reason why he's out on Io in the first place, because they just pushed him away. And there's a scene quite early on where a guy who's out of his nut on the drugs gets into an airlock, and the door that is on that airlock is actually the airlock door of the Nostromo.
It's still got a bit of alien acid on the edge. You know?
Yeah, well, it's actually the door that Ash opens when Kane's been taken. So when they're on the other side of it and he's standing there going, "Inner hatch door open," sort of thing, it's that door because that door was just hanging around, and then you can actually see when you see it in Blu-ray Crikey Vision, you can actually see where they've just like wheeled it into place in the middle of just like some scaffolding.
Subtle.
It's quite interesting, but Outland's an interesting one because again it's that sort of lawman on the edge kind of thing. He's a good guy, but he's been pushed out to Io because he's made too much trouble for people on Earth. So no one likes him and no one will work for him because he grassed up his old colleagues on Earth.
That's it. Yes, I do remember that bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give you that. He's actually a really good policeman. But interestingly, all of his men, as he says, my men are shit because his men are on the take. And and the one that has a change of heart basically gets offed. So again, dodgy police force all in. So not a bad start.
Except for Sean.
Yes. Sean, once old Sean comes up there, he fucks shit up and then he leaves. Yes. Blimey, I had all these policemen, I had all these cops lined up. I tell you one police force that I kind of didn't even think they were a police force at first. But I stumbled across them just because I was just kind of Googling police forces and all this kind of thing, was the Tal Shiar, the Romulan Tal Shiar.
Right. I wouldn't have said they were a police force as such. I mean, more a secret police, certainly.
Exactly.
So it depends if you're counting secret police, because, I mean, they're not, they're more spies and they're out to uncover plots against the Romulan Empire and people who are who are betraying the Romulan Empire. So they're not so much police as, I guess, FBI or I never remember which one it is, MO5 or MI6, or the internal ones.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more like they're like the NSA, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah.
But it's just once you start pulling back on that sort of, oh, well, hold on, what about secret police? Where do we go with those?
Yeah.
You've got the Tal Shiar. I mean, Star Trek's got, it's funny enough, for a utopian society, Star Trek's got nothing but secret police.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you've got, for the Cardassians, you've got the Obsidian Order.
Yep.
For the Tal Shiar, you've got, for the Romulans, you've got Section 31 for the Federation. And then you've got, Starfleet Intelligence, which is kind of a nebulous...
They're the above-board version of Section 31.
Yeah, and then you've got the Vulcan one, which is the Vishar. Vishar. Yeah. Vishar, yeah.
Oh.
So it's
is that something from Enterprise, by any chance?
No, I don't know. I found this one listed up. I think it's listed down because it was. Oh, yeah, actually, it might be. Yeah, it's Enterprise. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, what a surprise.
Yeah, the Vishar. Yeah, but it's just interesting that
anything dodgy about Vulcans? Search for Enterprise.
Search for Enterprise. That's right. But it's just interesting that Star Trek is the one with the most. I don't know, the most secret police.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. It's like...
The Klingons have one as well, but they don't get a fancy name because they're not particularly well regarded by the rest of the Klingons because they're dishonourable and sneaking around finding out things about people. So
yeah. Well, I can't imagine they're much more different than just Klingons, to be honest. They just turn up and just say, "You did this. I don't believe you. My honour must be sort of avenged."
Yeah, probably.
Fight breaks out the end. Yeah, so I just found that really interesting that the Star Trek universe has probably more secret police than even like things like Babylon 5 or
Star Wars, of course, doesn't really need them because the Empire are all out, aren't they? There's not anything particularly secret about them.
No, but you do have like the Imperial Security Bureau that turn up in a couple of video games, and then you also have Imperial Intelligence, which is just like a sort of nebulous thing, just whenever they need to move the plot along. Imperial Intelligence tells us that blah, 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 blah. And then obviously you've got the Stormtroopers, who are like actually a local police force as well.
Well, yeah, they're basically what happens when the military takes over. So they're the army, but they're the army in command of everything, including policing. So yeah.
Yeah, like like martial law. Which leads us nicely onto something. Well, I mean, if you get to martial law and military organisations, you're in all sorts of stuff. I mean, what about? Well, actually, if you've got another one, go for another one rather than me just.
Okie dokie. If we're going for goodies still, when the cops are the good guys, then of course we got Star Cops.
Yes, twice as bright, half as long has been covering that bloody.
Just finished it. Yes,
that bloody intro song.
Oh,
God.
And Amory loves it. So
God.
she plays it when she has any excuse, but I'd rather skip it on the DVD. But
I mean,
so 80s,
just ever so slightly. I mean, yeah, I mean, Star Cops is probably is almost as sort of its equivalent of Outland, isn't it? I mean, really.
Yep.
Just in terms of kind of like you've got cops, and most of the work is done sort of out in deep space and on
not
colonies.
So much deep space.
Well,
I mean, they wouldn't qualify for a normal episode because generally they're only going as far as the moon and back.
Yeah.
It's only right at the end of the series they go to Mars. But up until that point, it's very much sort of local police keeping. There's a moon base that they've got an office on, but I mean they haven't even got spaceships of their own. They have to hop on civilian flights to go to and from Earth. So that in terms of coolness, they wouldn't score very highly. But in terms of the series and the way that the characters are written, it's really cool. Actually, it's well worth checking out.
Yeah, it does get better. That's probably the way to put it. It's probably the easiest way to put it. I mean, yeah, the interesting thing with like things like Star Cops and with Outland, and I guess to a lesser degree, is it the Confederacy? Is it the Federacy? I can never remember what they're bloody called in Firefly.
Yeah.
The guys who won the war, essentially.
Yeah, well, presumably they aren't the Confederates because they're the ones who lost.
No, it's something like the I can't remember what they're called. That's made us rubbish, isn't it? But it was more a case of just with those. It was like in the case of Star Cops and in the case of Outland and in the case of Firefly more specifically, it's never like a big galaxy-wide organization. It's just like kind of local colonies have their own little groups, and it doesn't seem to be. I was kind of trying to work out because my next one was going to be Shadow from UFO.
Ah, right. So I've never seen that. So
right. Well, the thing is, it's like where does it stop being police and when does it start being the Federation? Effectively, where do you sort of draw the line? I guess before we go too much further, because with Shadow, it's like an organisation that doesn't police like the colonies or anything like that. They're just watching out for a specific threat. So they're a bit more like a military. Same goes for Captain Scarlet and Spectrum.
Yeah.
It's like they are the police. They are a peacekeeping.
Oh, it was the
force.
Alliance in Firefly, by the way.
The Alliance.
That's why it doesn't stick in your head because it's not exactly a
the
original name. Is it?
Exactly. No. And it's just like I suddenly was thinking, well, do you start to count these more, these organisations which cover whole galaxies because Star Cops and Outland and that kind of thing is kind of like a bit more actual policemen on the beat.
That's it. Yep.
RoboCop, Blade Runner, I guess.
I guess so. Yep. They're a police force of sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a very specific remit, obviously, but
exactly, and that's what I was trying to work out whether or not if a police force has a specific area.
You see, I would argue they'd probably classify more as bounty hunters because they've got a particular group of people that they're after. So rather than keeping the peace and keeping law, they're actually specifically targeting a particular group of people.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, then, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, so then Shadow doesn't count, I guess, because they're more like an Earth defense against a specific alien invasion.
Yeah, so more to an army like that.
Yeah. See, that's. Where...
I'll tell you what, it's more. Straight up, good guys, police.
Yeah, go on.
Nova Corps from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Of course, and nice, absolutely top banana there. Yeah, Nova Corps. They're very good. I mean, and then you have their Marvel equivalent, which is the Green Lantern Corps.
The DC ones, yes.
The DC ones, sorry, that was the Marvel one. Yeah, the DC ones, the Green Lantern Corps, which is the same sort of deal, space police patrolling entire sectors.
Yeah, but they get magic rings.
Ooh, yeah.
I must agree. The whole lantern thing has never worked for me. It's always seemed so hokey.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to take the Green Lantern Corps and put them in the Marvel universe, because then they've got kind of like that whole sort of you can always go back into that kind of like cosmic madness that you get with like Thor and
well, I mean, it's sort of bordering on magic, isn't it? Which again, they do quite well, but because isn't there a special thing they have to say that comes with the ring?
Well, no,
Darkest Night or something.
Yeah, I had to do a promo for this for Green Lantern for cartoon. It's in darkest day, in brightest day, in darkest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Oh God, now I've forgotten it. Oh God, no, yeah. In brightest day, in darkest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Worship not evil's might. Beware my power, Green Lantern's light. There you go.
Kiss my ring.
Yeah, kiss my ring. Kiss my ring would have worked a lot better. Would have saved a lot of time. I don't honestly think they have to say that before the ring actually activates. By the way, it's a power that's kind of from their from a particular emotional state. So Green Lanterns power the ring through willpower. Get it to do what they want through sheer force of will.
Uh-huh.
And like the Red Lanterns, for example, power their lantern rings from rage.
Yes, I do.
And then the yellow lanterns are sort of fear, I think. Though how you can fight when your power is being scared.
Yeah, running away really fast, I guess.
Yeah, quickly, brave Sir Robin ran away.
Bravely ran away. Yes.
Quickly, brave Sir Robin. Okay, well, I tell you what. I tell you the other thing. In a lot of space cops, shall we say, are kind of innocent and heroic. Probably more towards sort of the earlier series. You know, sort of like in the 50s and the 60s. You know, when you get all those kind of Flash Gordon kind of, you know, space cops and all this kind of thing. But then I'm just wondering. The one that I'm really wondering about, which comes up a little bit more later in the thing, is Power Rangers.
Oh my god!
Well, I mean, because you know the Earth has 5 Rangers to defend the Earth and do good and all this kind of thing.
More superheroes than
police. But there was a specific one, thanks to my googling, I found that was called the SPD, which is the Space Patrol. Power Rangers Space Patrol Division or something like that, and they were actually in space all the time. And it was like sort of Power Rangers set off in the far future.
But I mean, were they solving crimes or were they just?
No.
Just defeating what's her face, that weird woman.
Yeah. The one. Well, it doesn't matter. They were all weird. Don't know who they were. Rita Repulsa or something.
That's
like that.
It. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, and then
I definitely class them more in sort of superhero territory than cops. Really, you can't imagine them giving directions to somebody to the Houses of Parliament or telling them the time. Really.
Yeah, I mean, going on with your good cops kind of thing. I mean, again, and sticking almost with the theme of good cops in science fiction tend to be like Western heroes. Yeah. We have Galaxy Rangers, a cartoon from 1986. Did you ever see that?
To Google.
Rangers. Long and the short of it, they're space cowboys.
Oh yes, I remember them. Yes,
riding on robot horses. But
yes, indeed, bizarrely.
But they are sheriffs, and they are they're out in out in deep space, looking after their colonies and that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's just something. It's like, oh, okay, fair enough. That's pretty cool. I mean, they would solve crimes. They would help out. They help out the homesteads and all this kind of thing. And
they're definitely cowboys. Stroke sheriffs. So but they definitely count. Yeah.
So again, we find once again we find that the good cops in these things tend to be more just sort of silver covered. Sort of cowboys, really.
Well, here's one that isn't.
Okay, go on then.
Space Precinct.
Ooh,
Jerry Anderson's misstep, I think it's fair to say.
yeah. The AKA Farscape 0.5. Yeah.
Yeah, but really bad.
Yeah. Well, some would argue Farscape wasn't exactly much of an improvement, but
it was better than Space Precinct, not by much, I grant you, but it was better than that. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, Space Precinct. I remember there being a big hoo-ha about it when it first launched.
And it was just the name Jerry Anderson had that sort of cachet back in those days, didn't it?
Exactly. So. And I remember watching 2 episodes because they had 2 episodes back to back on the launch. And I watched both episodes, and I never watched another again.
I may well have been the same. I think, even though it had spaceships in it, it was like, this isn't very good. This is
not great. No. Okay. Well, I tell you what. There was again. I don't know if this counts. Whether or not they're. How can I put it? I don't know if this counts because I don't know if they count as like more of a military force again. But here's a good one. And it leads in nicely to probably one that will turn up. But pre-Babylon 5, the first mention of Babylon 5 was not in Babylon 5. Did you know that? No, it was in the J. Michael Straczynski short-run TV show called Captain Power.
Oh, right.
Right. So, to Google.
Yeah, I have heard of Captain Power, at least.
Yeah.
Isn't it Captain Power and something? Soldiers of the Future or something
like that? That's right. Soldiers of the Future, that's the one. Yeah, and basically it was a bit sort of like fighting off against, various bad guys. I don't know if they were ever just being a normal police force, or whether or not they were some kind of mercenary.
Yeah, I mean, the main hero is reminding me of a particular sci-fi policeman that we're going to get to eventually.
I pretty much wouldn't take
with that helmet.
Yeah. With that helmet, it's not hard to do, is it?
No.
But no, I just thought of them. I thought of them because I was going to go to Babylon 5 at some point in not too long. But I just wondering whether or not, because they're kind of soldiers of fortune and defending the defenseless.
Well, the bad news is if they're called soldiers of fortune, then they're not police, are they? They're army if they're soldiers, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. Bollocks. So much of my research is going out the window.
I just discovered a Captain Power cosplay that I'd really rather not have seen.
Jesus, never go down past the first row on this.
I know, I made that mistake, didn't I? Holy cow! Who ate all the pies?
Oh,
right. That's. I'm saving that for Twitter later on, anyway.
Oh, yeah. You should also look up the bad guy, Lord Dread. That's a good one.
Now Lord Dread. Now, what do I know about that? That was ripped off as well, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. Basically, it's like half Borg, half Darth Vader.
Yes, that's right. Arguably, the Borg were based on Lord Dread. Yes, I remember reading that.
Yeah. I mean, Captain Power, like I say, is interesting because, as I said before, it kind of actually named Babylon 5 as an outpost outside of on the edge of sort of like Earth territory. So there's this kind of sort of. I'm sure there's a kind of corner of fandom which is very desperately trying to tie these two universes together. Yeah. I'm hoping they never manage it. Let's put it this way, because sort of a cheap rate Darth Vader in the Babylon 5 universe wouldn't have lasted very long, I don't think. So what's your next one before?
Well, staying on good, I think this is probably my last completely good one.
Yeah.
Although there's another one that's arguable, but Captain Zepp, of course, super space detective, was
of course
effectively a pod, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Doing his detective work.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know you're not on Facebook anymore, but on the Facebook group, Captain Zepp kind of solved someone's little mind splinter from like 30 years ago.
Oh yes, they remembered that show but couldn't remember the name, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And when we named it and then put a YouTube clip up, I think it was Pete Hammond, and he was just like, "Fuck, that's it." Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's very little out there that you can watch for it.
No.
YouTube's normally quite good for these sort of things, but clearly it was too early for video. So
yeah. I mean, it's not really very good. I mean,
it certainly doesn't look it. No, but as a kid, I remember it being really cool.
Yeah. What I was going to say as well. Are we counting in this sci-fi world of cops and robbers? Are we counting time travel?
What do you mean, time cops?
Well, time cops who can travel through time.
Oh, I see what you mean. I don't know. Are they, as long as they're set in the future, yes. He says, avoiding crime traveller at all costs.
We're not going anywhere near crime traveller, no. But there was the TV show of Time Cops, which was the first thing.
Time Cops.
Do you remember Time Cop? The Jean-Claude Van Damme film.
Yes, I remember the film, but there was a TV series.
Yes, there was. And the Time Enforcement Commission agent Jack Logan. Yeah, and
right.
and for according to my researches, it was an outrageous amount of money per episode, costing $1.5 million per episode. It was.
It didn't show according to Google Images anyway.
No, it basically died off after 9 weeks. So,
yeah,
it's
a good investment. Then.
Yeah, well worth it. Yeah, so they didn't spend a lot of money on it, but no, it was interesting. I was just going to say whether or not we start to count sort of how wide we cast the net on science fiction, because you start getting into sort of weirdness like Ultraviolet with Idris Elba. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, that's another twice as bright, half as long series that they've covered.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's a fantastic show. But I don't know how far we count that as the science fiction.
Feel very sci-fi, really.
No,
I mean,
not
we're,
really.
we're talking futuristic, aren't we? Here, well,
Obviously.
I am when I'm talking sci-fi. I'm afraid. So
yeah. Well, here's one for you then. This one is another time travel one, but this is actually set in the future. So here we go. You're gonna love this one. This one I can only remember from the pictures, and I've never actually seen it. But here we go. The show was called Time Tracks.
Right, is that with an X?
Yep, of course it is.
How did I guess? It's sci-fi. We need X's.
You can't. The letter K was outlawed in the year 2150.
Yeah. Oh well, it's not inspiring me with the images. After it's a guy on a bloody motorbike. Well, how's that sci-fi?
Yeah, but the thing was, everyone had those little Asian collars on their suits when they were in the future. So obviously, it's the future, and all the screens had curves. Now I'll read you the synopsis. Here we go. When evil Dr. Mordecai Shamby used his time travel machine, the tracks, to send criminals 200 years back in time to 1993, police detective Darren Lambert is tasked to follow them back. His tools for the mission were Selma, the specifically encapsulated limited memory archive, aka...
Oh, really?
Yeah. In other words, Ziggy by any other name.
Yeah.
Yeah, a supercomputer disguised as a credit card which communicates via the hologram of a British nanny and the MPPT, the micro pellet projection tube, which can stun criminals and transport them back to the future.
Wow. They made a Super Nintendo game of it.
Exactly. Dale Midkiff played Lambert in this Australian-US series from creator Harve Bennett, who did Star Trek.
Life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Star Trek, man.
Yeah. Time Tracks, here's a comment. Time Tracks, which inspired a video game adaptation for the Super NES, ran for 2 seasons and the final season was produced by Lorimar Television, and then it was basically cancelled by Warner Brothers. There you go.
Do you know who else appeared in it?
Go on.
Very young Jerry Ryan.
There you go.
AKA 709, looking smouldering, it has to be said.
Well, wow. There you go. See, two Trek things.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm surprised Star Trek wasn't called Star Tracks.
Tracks, indeed. Well, if it had started in the 80s, maybe that's what would have happened.
Yeah.
It looks shit, though.
Yeah. It does look shit. Do you want to go for another one?
Okay, well, this is the last of my definitely good ones.
Okay.
And that's Gort. The day the Earth stood still. Of course, he's a copper from the future.
Whoa, is he? But is he, though? Because all he does is turn up and just warn everyone that if you don't do good, I'm going to blow up your entire planet.
Yeah.
To stop this from spreading.
Effectively, hello, what's all this then? You know?
Okay.
I miss he didn't have a blue light in his head, but he may as well have done.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, yeah. Okay.
Be good. Oh, no, that's a different film, isn't
it? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Oh, sorry. All I can hear is I can hear people in the background.
Yes, there is a definite amount of singing, and at this point, I'm going to have to yell at them to
no,
shut
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, it's cool. So, cool. That's your last good one, is it? Your last definitely good.
Yes, that's the last of the white hats, effectively.
Okay. Well, then let me throw one more white hat into it. Well, actually,
in the ring.
Well, I'll throw 2 in there. Okay. See if I can get 2 in, because I think one of them might not count, but I'm going to give it a spin. First off, we have. Do you remember a film called Alien Nation?
Yeah. Well, I remember a TV series called Alien Nation. And was there a film originally?
Yeah, the original film had Mandy Patinkin as the alien. Yeah.
No, I think that counts. Yeah.
And James Caan as the human.
That's it. And James Caan then got recast for the TV series, didn't he?
Yes, as that guy who always gets recast into things. Usually
can't afford the big star. Get this guy.
Yeah, he ended up as one of the Vulcans in Enterprise.
Well, we'll forgive him for that.
Yeah, we'll let him off. I can't remember his name. What's his name? Never mind. It doesn't matter.
TV series. Cast. George Francis. Eric Pierpoint.
Eric Pierpoint. There you go. No, Eric Pierpoint was the one who played George, but who played Sykes?
Matt Sykes was Gary Graham.
There you go, Gary Graham. You look him up. How many Trek influence?
Oh yes, indeed.
Yeah, he turned up. I think in pretty much every Trek series since Next Generation at some point. So Gary Graham. Yeah, if you can't afford Scott Glenn, then you get. Gary Graham.
Gosh, he was due to be an Axanar.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was in Enterprise and he was going to be an Axanar. So, but no, I thought that was a really good one because that was a kind of proper buddy cop.
Yeah, I did catch a couple of episodes of that, and I seem to remember it being quite good. But it's one of those that perhaps needs to be revisited at some point.
Definitely. That'll probably be twice as bright, half as long, because I think it only lasted a single series.
In which case, it'll qualify. Excellent.
Yeah,
I shall start campaigning now in order to get more sci-fi on Twice as Bright.
Yeah, exactly. Cause...
Putting up with, what's it at the moment, The Persuaders.
More cravats and swanky 60s music than you know what to do.
And ascots.
Yeah, everyone walking around like they're just about to go either to a very fancy sort of restaurant with Austin Powers, or
yes,
go,
it is. It's more Austin Powers than Austin Powers is, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Painful.
Right. So you got that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the other one. Now I don't know if this is going to count as just an organisation for a specific purpose, but Torchwood.
Ooh, Torchwood. Well, again, they're more. If they are police, they're definitely secret police, aren't they? Because they're supposed to be under the radar.
Yeah.
Not sure if they count. No, because again, they're not particularly. Are they solving crime? They're not really solving crimes, are they? They're investigating alien invasions. So, I would say they're more. And effectively an FBI or an MI6 rather than a police force, really.
Oh, okay. So I mean, because like this is where I start to get a bit kind of all over the place because if they got a kind of FBI kind of vibe, you know, when you get to things like I don't know if you follow Supergirl, for example.
But not particularly, no, not the TV series anyway.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, she works for a group which her sister is part of, called the DEO, which is the Department of Extraterrestrial Offences or something like that. I can't remember what it stands for now, but it's like all it does is it keeps track on all the aliens, a bit like Men in Black. In fact, Men in Black is a good one as well.
There's a really good strip running in 2000 AD at the moment called Grey Area, which does exactly the same thing as well.
Grey Area is so good. I can't keep up with 2000 AD, but when I went back to it, I caught that just as it started, and that was so good.
Really well written stuff. Yeah,
it's really cool.
So again, I would argue not police because they've got a very specific mandate. They're not generally, keeping the law. They've got a particular group of people that they're charged with keeping an eye on or keeping out.
Yeah. So I mean, then in which case we can't count the Men in Black, for example. Then
no, I wouldn't either. No, they're not police. They're just looking after any aliens that are either illegally or illegally on Earth. So
yeah, well, they're border guards, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we could argue it that way. He says, desperately trying to squeeze.
But that's not police, you see. That's something else.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Sorry, Captain Strict tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm just really glad you didn't put your foot down and we went for Space Kitchens. So
yeah, it was that or Space Kitchens. I think you chose wisely.
Exactly. So. In which case, where do we stand with things like Psychor?
Oh well, Psychor don't have any jurisdiction with normal people, do they? They're literally just policing anybody with psychic abilities. So again, they're not counting as police.
But they are technically secret police.
Well, they're certainly secret, but they're not supposed to be interfering with normal people. I mean, of course, they do, but they're not supposed to be. They're strictly speaking, they're supposed to be. If they're policing anybody, it's just those with psychic powers.
Okay, fair enough. I'm happy to go with this. I think I'm going to just run it past you because you clearly have a proper handle on all this kind of thing. I mean, in which case, continuing down the Babylon 5 route,
Uh-huh.
What about Night Watch?
Oh God, Nightwatch. Again, they're definitely not police because they're not. I mean, the only people who are police in Babylon 5 is your Garibaldi's, aren't they? I mean, they're literally charged with keeping the law on the station. So you can count the security force of Babylon 5 because they're effectively more police than they are army, because the army is something separate that you see in a different episode. So yeah, I'm fine with Garibaldi and his ilk. I'm not so much with Nightwatch are just black shirts, aren't they, in another name? So
okay, fine, cool. Do you have another one in your list before I just sort of?
Okay, well, I've got a bunch of Doctor Who ones.
Okay,
you could have guessed this, couldn't you?
Yes.
Although surprisingly, in its long history, Doctor Who hasn't had that many space police. Most recently, and the ones you'd be most familiar with, I guess, of course, is the Judoon.
The Judoon on the moon.
The Judoon on the moon, which I rewatched the other day and actually really enjoyed.
It is silly, but it is fun.
Yeah. No, so far it's a good season. Unfortunately, I've just hit the one with the Daleks, and I just know I can't face watching that. But never mind. Daleks take Manhattan or something like that.
Oh
dear.
God, with the pigmen.
Yeah, and the guy with all the testicles on his head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the first story in particular is very, very good, and the Judoon is such a wonderful creation. They do crop up later on, don't they? But they never really play a big part again.
Yeah.
But they are literally space police. That's what they're charged with, keeping the peace and ensuring certain protocols are followed. So yeah, the Judoon are cool.
And they also are part of the Shadow Proclamation, which sounds like which gives you kind of a sense of a big galactic secret police empire kind of thing going on. It's never really explained.
Well, there's a part of it. I'm rewatching it because I can't remember that season very well, but I seem to remember, yes, it is explained a bit more when they crop up again, but I can't remember too much about it, so I'm looking forward to watching that again. Okay,
so do you have another one from Doctor Who then?
Yeah, which I'm hoping I will manage to send your way without crashing the entire system again.
Okay, let's have a look at this from an episode called Frontier in Space then, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, God, blimey, look at this lot.
Isn't that pretty?
Oh, wow. Okay. So who are these guys then?
So, these guys?
Well, I mean, it says here, right, you've sent me Story 67, Frontier in Space.
Yep.
There's someone who looks like Ming the Merciless with some bad...
Okay, that hasn't worked either then. That's good.
And then there's a picture of a spaceship, and then there's John Pertwee looking confused, while two guys who look like someone's fucked a frogman are there. Yeah. And
can you see the space? It's about halfway down the page.
Yeah, I can see that. What the hell is that?
That is a space police vehicle that the Master commandeers.
Right. It looks like someone's put some Airfix kit wings on a toilet tube and stuck a ball on the front.
There you go, folks.
Model making in its finest.
1970s Who for you, but I think it's kind of cute, personally.
Okay. Were they were our scaly friends in this thing the actual police?
No, they're not. They're the Draconians, who are kind of Klingonish, basically.
Are they a bit
They believe heavily in honour.
Yeah.
Sadly, they only really appear in this story, but they're actually one of Doctor Who's better makeup effects. Are rather splendid.
They are pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
So are they?
It's a good story, well worth watching. 6 parts though, so you have to have a bit of patience.
Right. Yeah. I mean, are they a bit draconian?
Well, funnily enough, they're very strict on their laws. It has to be said. So yes, as is often the case of Who, they are well named.
Yes, exactly. Okay, cool. So the Draconians, it's been commented upon that Babylon 5 features a war that was triggered by an identical misunderstanding from this.
Yes, that's right. When the Draconians turn up, and this is long before JMS did Babylon 5, they have their gun ports open, which is misinterpreted by the Earth people. Where have I heard of this before?
That sounds very... Yeah. Now, it does sound very familiar. Okay. Well, fair enough. So, so that's your second Doctor Who. Have you got a third?
I do have a third, but unfortunately, I don't have a link for it, so I'm going to have to email it to you.
No, it's fine. Just tell me who they are, and I'll just Google it.
Well, I tried Googling it and couldn't find them because they were from one of the worst Doctor Who stories ever.
Which one was that?
And it's called The Twin Dilemma. It's actually Colin Baker's first story, and it all goes horribly, horribly wrong. So I'm sending it to the Black Dog. Oh, no, that's no good, is it? Oh, God.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. I'm looking at the Twin Dilemma. I'm looking at images on the Twin Dilemma. And I'm looking at
You ain't going to find the spaceship, though, believe me. And it is a thing of wonder and beauty because it literally has blue and red lights on the top.
I am looking at an alien that looks like someone's pushed Nin Num's like face up 10 feet up in his head.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that'll be the slug creatures from that they're complete with dealy boppers.
Yeah,
and they're not good.
Yeah, they do look a bit like someone sort of trapped Pob's head in a door.
It literally is one of Doctor Who's worst ever stories. It is a complete and utter embarrassment. Badly written, badly designed, badly acted. Just embarrassing. But I have emailed you a picture of the police spaceship that features in the story, which right. I shall also put on the Twitter feed.
Okay, is that this boxy thing with the 4 pillars?
And boxy thing with the 4 pillars. Have you noticed how it has a certain roll bar on it?
Hold on a sec. I haven't downloaded it. I got kind of distracted because as I was scrolling down, I noticed that there was a picture of Perry in her pants.
Yeah, that will distract you. Yes,
that was a little distracting. I don't know what was going on there. But okay, here we go. Let's have a look at this picture then. Oh yes, I see it.
Yeah, it's like they took a bunch of kits and literally just poured glue on them and threw them together. And there's definitely a bit of Reliant there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a bit of Reliant. There's a bit of was that stupid robot that you could buy with the little square head, looked a bit like oh God, looked a bit like Johnny Five.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the bit at the top and the roll bar. The front of it is MB's Starbird.
Yes. Yes,
oh
I believe
God.
it is.
In fact, it looks like Starbird.
Sprayed.
Yeah, it looks like they sprayed it and stuck some Airfix wings on it. I think Airfix wings are kind of like a running theme in Doctor Who.
Yep.
Wow. Wow, that's
and amazingly, that's the least awful thing about the story.
Wow, that's pretty bloody awful. You won't tell me you won't be bringing that to the table.
I won't be, no, because stats will not be available for that at all.
Well, it didn't stop Elton on the ET spaceship, so have at it.
That is Elton.
Yeah, that is Elton. Yeah. So yeah, cool. Okay. Oh blimey, I've gone right down the rabbit hole with some of these pictures. No, stop. I'm getting distracted. I'm getting all sorts of distracted here. Right. So let's think about another police force. I had my definitive list. I tell you one, and again, I don't know how this works out as whether or not they're secret agents or what. But you've read culture novels, haven't you? I have indeed, yes. Special Circumstances. Oh yeah. Whether or not the group of Special Circumstances from the Ian M. Banks culture books count as police, because it technically the culture doesn't need police. Exactly, yes. So they've got an interesting role to play, haven't they? So they get sort of pulled up and called in whenever something needs to be dealt with, and it doesn't matter what it's like. But it's almost like the Secret Service, but it's very public. No one sits there and pretends they're not Special Circumstances. No, they're not spies. They're all out in the open. But yes, they're not called upon to solve crimes, because theoretically there aren't any crimes. No. Interesting question, that one. I don't know. That's a grey area, I think. Yes, it's just, it's always that thing of kind of like when you have to step out of moral judgments and just go for sort of clinical, sort of do what is right, not what is logical. Yeah, cool. But I mean, whenever they come up, it's kind of like, oh, it's Special Circumstances. It's like, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Well, yeah, and then, and what about something like the Inquisition in like Warhammer? Well, there are police. They're called Arbites. Oh, right. Warhammer. Okay.
And that they're straight up police. They're in charge of keeping crime to a minimum in the crazy future of Warhammer 40k. So they don't tend to get involved in the war stuff. They're in charge of keeping the peace, literally, and they do get power armor still, but it's not quite as good as Space Marines, and they're not genetically modified in the same way that Space Marines are.
No, but you still don't really want to fuck with them. Let's be honest.
Oh, definitely not.
No. Okay, well, speaking of Warhammer and Warhammer 40k and all that kind of stuff, what about I don't know how this would work, whether or not this counts as science fiction police or not, but Thought Police from 1984.
Ooh.
Do they count?
Yeah, well, the police is in the name, isn't it? So,
well, yeah, but I mean, I've come up with a number of things I thought were kind of like police-ish.
Yeah, don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, possibly
because they are technically upholding the law of the land.
Yes, as draconian as it is.
Yeah, exactly, yes. and technically as shifting as it is as well.
Indeed, yes.
Because yeah, it was just with someone like with the Thought Police. Obviously, they do have like a specific job to fulfill, but they are very much like a secret police force, but they are upholding the law. So again, another weird grey area one. Well, okay, I tell you what, I'm going to go for one which you have no frame of reference.
Oh, here we go then.
So here's one: Mass Effect CSEC, and what they are, just so you know, is essentially the red shirts of the Mass Effect universe on a big space station called the Citadel. And they are just there keeping the peace on every floor. They're made up of like a multi-racial species police force that just oversees all different races. But they're also having to deal with political issues as well, because there's a whole galactic government on the space station. So,
I will warn you, by the way, when you Google CSEC, you get an awful lot of C-section pictures, which you really don't want to see.
No. Hold on a second. How have you been typing in CSEC?
Literally C and then SEC.
Yeah, try C-sec.
Right.
C.
I've got lots of pictures of Garrus. Is he a member of the CSEC?
Yes, he is. He used to be.
Oh my gosh, you're getting to me because I know who Garrus is now.
There you go.
I played the game for all of half an hour. So.
Yeah, everyone knows who Garrus is because he's fucking cool. No, CSEC. Yeah, they're basically the police on the Citadel. Usually denoted by their blue armor.
Yes,
blue and black armor. But then, just to keep Mass Effect on for 1 second, while I still have even the remotest shred of enthusiasm for that after Bloody Andromeda kicked me to the curb, there's also the role that your character plays, which is the Spectres. And the Spectres are the police, like the right hand of the council. So they're essentially the people who do whatever needs to be done and be accountable to no one except the council. Do they count?
No, because police have to be accountable to the people ultimately.
Well, there you go. Okay, that's cool. Another thing sorted out. Thanks very much. See,
that was it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I don't mind that. That's good. Yeah, just don't Google CSEC. Just Google.
Yeah, don't Google CSEC. Believe me,
just
Google
don't
want to do that.
C-sec.
There goes my lunch.
There goes your lunch. Right. Okay. Well. Obviously, let's not beat around the bush. Go on. I mean, I know which one is kind of ultimately the one we end up on. But...
Well, no, I kind of tempted not to mention it and just tease people. Because there will be people yelling at their fruit-based product or whatever.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, still not funny joke.
Yeah, it's still not funny.
Yeah, generic fruit-based device. Yeah,
that's the one.
That's the one. So okay then, well, go on then. Have you got another one then?
No, I am literally left with the grey area.
Go on then, go for a grey. Oh,
and the grey area.
Oh, grey area. Oh.
As in the one we've been avoiding talking about up until this point.
Oh, that one. Okay, well then...
Where the hero isn't really a hero, but
no,
he kind of is.
Okay, well then what about oh God, I'm trying to remember what they're called. See, I found a couple, right? Let's go through the list, see if this helps, right? Because I've got a list here, and what about...
You're checking it twice.
Yeah, I am. There's an intelligence organization that discovered the Allspark and built the Hoover Dam to mask the energy emitted from the cube. Sector 7 is the name of the group, and it's in the Michael Bay Transformers movies.
Yeah, I'm just not willing to even recognise the existence of the Michael Bay Transformers movie. So let's move on.
Okay then. Well, what about them? Ghost in the Shell. You've heard of that, yeah?
I have heard of that, yes, and all sorts of ructions it caused for the recent live action one.
Yes, let's not go there. Yeah, so there's so the group that the Major works for, which is like a federal security agency and a part of the Ministry of Home Affairs, is called Public Security Section 9. So
yeah, it's sounding very dodgy, isn't it, with a name like that?
It isn't sounding good, is it? It's not.
No.
It's not something that you immediately go, "Oh Christ!"
I'll ask them for directions. No.
Well, okay then. Well, then I tell you what. Let's go to another one from my list. Have you heard or have you played the role-playing game of Traveller?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay.
Back in the day, White Dwarf, when White Dwarf was other than Games Workshop's, brochure, used to cover stuff about Traveller, yes.
Absolutely. Well, there was a group there called the Imperial Interstellar Scout Service, which was originally like an exploratory agency, but it also has divisions that do espionage, like a military arm. It had a police arm and a diplomatic arm and internal communications for the Third Imperium. So notable for carrying out operations all over the place in undiscovered and unsettled regions and also maintaining law and order throughout the galaxy.
Sounds like it qualifies to me then.
Bingo. There you go.
Win.
See, the amount of Googling, I tell you what, my data cap has just gone through the roof. The amount of Googling I've done on that train on the way home today. You have no idea. You have no idea.
This entire podcast is fueled by commuting.
It is. Without the Southeastern's shitty service.
Yes, you wouldn't have this podcast.
You wouldn't have this podcast. I would have just got home on time. I tell you what, I also found another one from Doctor Who. Which is to do with Big Finish audio. So
right. This is a blank spot for me, I must admit.
Yeah, which is a group called The Forge. And I will read from the wiki, which is The Forge is also known as Department C4, which was founded during the turn of the 20th century to study and experiment with extraterrestrial materials technology and apply it to security interests of the United Kingdom.
Sounds like Torchwood to me.
Well, exactly. Funny enough, about 2 paragraphs down it goes, it is similar to the Torchwood Institute in the TV series.
Right.
Though the Forge introduction in the audio plays predates it by a number of years.
Well, it does, yes. So that was what RTD was obviously borrowing from, shall we say politely.
It was basically a Sixth Doctor audio play called Cryptobiosis. There you go. And, I won't get into the whole thing because I will undoubtedly make an absolute hash of it. But Project Twilight, Project Lazarus, Project Destiny, Project Valhalla, these were all Big Finish productions that had this group in there. So did we discounted Torchwood, didn't we?
We did, yes. They're definitely not a police force. They're far too secretive for that. So.
Bugger. That's a pain in the bum. Okay. Shit. Well, okay then. Well, oh God, okay. There's Green Lantern Corps. I'm just going through them. Now. Well, we've done Nova Corps. Yes, we've done that. Yep. Okay. Let's have a little think. What about the group, the SGC from Stargate?
Right.
Because they are military. However, they go out to different places and they basically bring order to different places that they investigate. Do they count?
No, not unless they're bringing order to the home planet as well.
Right. Okay. In which case, can I just go outright on a limb and let's just ask: Starfleet, the Federation, is that basically a huge intergalactic police force that has a research and sort of exploration arm, much like Traveller?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it depends whose vision of Star Trek you take. It's certainly not Gene Roddenberry's vision of space police.
No, but in terms of, like, for example, if something goes,
I think not, because in the Deep Space Nine episode where they get sent out on the streets, that's martial law, so they're effectively the military at that point. They're not normally on the streets.
No.
Keeping the law, so therefore, no, I don't think they count.
Okay, because I was going to say, because in Next Generation, for example, there's many an episode where they rock up and mediate disputes and mediate sort of small local issues.
Again, that's not the police's role, though, to be out there mediating on other planets. It's the police's role is to be mediating at home. So
okay, fair enough. Okay. Then in which case I haven't got many more, but I will name out a few. One of them should be you should be able to at least shed a bit more light on, which is the Office of State Security, or StateSec, or SS, which is part of the People's Republic of Haven, which is from the Honorverse books, the Honor Harrington books.
Yeah, well, I've read all of one of those, and I can't remember them being mentioned. So.
Bugger! Because I thought you would be, because I thought you'd be a bit more.
Now at this point, we need Andy, don't we? Because
I
think he's read more than one of the novels. But yeah. I managed one.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. So, right. Well, that's kind of stuffed us then, really, isn't it?
Yes, that one will have to be put in the pending pile.
Yeah, that's a bit of a pain. So we're not going to count anything to do with superhumans or anything like that, are we?
No, not if they're superheroes. No, they're
not so much that, but more like S.H.I.E.L.D., for example.
Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D., they're not police, are they? They're set up in order to keep a handle on people with superpowers. So again, they've got a far too specific remit to be counted as police.
See, that's the thing. This is where we keep coming up against it. Is like a lot of these science fiction organisations, apart from being 99% secret police, there's also these ones where it's just like they have a specific single task.
Yeah.
I mean, okay then. I tell you what. Let's put it another way. Rather than listing out any further ones, is there a particular police force that you think, in all of science fiction, and let's take all the organisations that are very specific, that do like a good job that you wouldn't mind if they existed for real?
Star Cops are doing a good job, so I could live with them. Yeah, in existence, definitely.
Okay. So, like any others, or is that just it? Is it just the stuff?
Nova Corps seem quite nice, don't they?
Yeah, they seem to have their
too bent.
They seem to have their heads screwed on. I guess. Yeah. I mean, yeah. For me, CSEC, I would have, but then they're pretty corrupt. There's policemen take pretty much left, right, and centre, and even there's one mission where you go up to the head of CSEC and you just say, "Look, just leave me in this room with this criminal for half an hour and I'll beat the confession out of him." And
nice.
And you pay him a little bit of money and he looks the other way.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. So there you go. But anything else just seems like sort of very, very dodgy kind of organisations, really.
Yes, well, I'm glad we've covered every single sci-fi police force ever. That's splendid.
Yeah, that's it. We missed out Stars from Resident Evil, which is kind of science fiction, I guess, but I don't think that counts. I can't think of any others. I mean,
we can't possibly be missing anybody else.
No, absolutely none. I mean, Uncle, Man from Uncle, spy-fi kind of science.
Yeah, they're more spies than police, though, aren't they?
Yeah, and we've done Spectrum from Captain Scarlet. Yeah. I can't think of any others.
No, none at all.
None at all.
Standing up for justice.
No. Truth, justice, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, well, that's it then. Well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. This minisode is brought to you by Frustration, Blue Balls, and you're all shouting at us one name.
Yeah.
Wonder if we are quiet, we can really hear it.
Through time.
Through time. If we put our heads to the microphone, do you think maybe we can just... No, I can't hear anything. Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah?
I know what it is. It's Forever Night.
Who?
Forever Night. It was a terrible 80s science fiction fantasy sort of thing where it was basically Nick Knight was a vampire and he was a cop. And he worked the night shift in Toronto.
Oh, my life. Right. Vampire cop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
and
I know the one.
uh-huh.
Bailey and Oliver. Bailey and Oliver from Robots and Foundation. From the
yes,
from the Asimov series.
They're sort of they're certainly investigative detectives.
Buddy cops. Yeah, one's a robot, the other one's a the other one's a human who doesn't really like robots. It
has been some years since I read those, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, I don't think I'm going back to them now either.
Yeah, actually, I tell you what, it's a 2000 AD one.
Is there?
Yeah, Strontium Dog. Oh no, they're bounty hunters.
They're bounty hunters, they don't count.
No, but don't the dogs work for an agency that is the police?
Yes, there is a police force in Strontium Dog. It's just that the main characters aren't a member of it. But yes, you're right. There is a police force there. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, they're horrible racists and bigots, maybe to a man jack of them. Yeah, actually, is there more in? There must be another one in 2008. I'm pretty sure there is. What about oh no, Bad Company's a military force, isn't it?
Yeah, Sam Slade's an investigator, but he's not really the police.
Yeah, Stainless Steel Rat is the same sort of deal as well.
Yeah.
The ABC Warriors are kind of mercenaries.
Yeah.
We had Grey Sector, or Grey Unit, sorry. Grey Area. Grey Area, but they don't count because they're Men in Black type things.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think we're done. Splendid.
Yes, brilliant. We're done. So can you think of any more? Have we missed any? Do you think we could have added one more? Is there something more you would like us to mention or investigate? If so, let us know. Put your comments down on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/SpaceDocJury, or come over to Twitter and tell us on Twitter, which is @SpaceDocJury. Or if you like, you can leave a comment on the actual website, which is spacedocjury.com. Pete, before we go, do you want to just promote your other podcasts, sir?
Feel free, yes. The old broadcast is still going, and we're still working our way through Season 5 of Deep Space Nine. We've also just recently covered another couple of episodes from Next Generation's deadly first series. We've been doing it over a long period of time, just a bit at a time, because it's painful, absolutely painful. Yes. But yes, it's mainly Deep Space Nine at the moment.
Right, brilliant. Okie dokie. And you can hear me on every Tuesday, Wednesday on the Black Dog podcast. And at the time this goes live, we will be doing a charity commentary for Vanilla Ice, Cooler's Ice, for the Grenfell Tower charity.
Beyond the Call of Duty. Well done.
Well, we're making our sacrifice. I'm not entirely sure that my Amazon download history will ever recover, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, yes. So do listen into that, and you can find that at blackdogpodcast.com and on iTunes. Right. Well, that's it then. Nothing else to mention. So, well, thank you very much, Pete. Thanks for joining us. And,
no worries.
We're doing this minisode, and hopefully next episode will not be another minisode. But you know what? We just don't know. Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, we don't know. Maybe we can't reconstitute Andy from that transporter accident.
It is a terrible mess.
It is. But, luckily, he just fits in one single dustpan, which is quite handy. As long as we don't go over with a dustbuster or drop it, we'll be fine. So, until next time, whether it's a minisode or the full episode, we'll see you all soon. Till then, take care. Tatty bye.
I am the law. I mean, cheery bye. I don't know where that came from.
I don't know what that means at all.
the law.